The Pacific War wasn't just fought on beaches and jungle trails. It was fought underground. From Saipan to Iwo Jima and Okinawa, the Japanese military carved enormous networks of tunnels and fortified caves into hillsides and volcanic rock. These underground strongholds were designed to stop American assaults cold. Soldiers stationed inside believed their defensive positions were nearly impossible to penetrate. They were told no matter how hard the U.S. attacked, these caves would hold. But they never imagined how quickly American flamethrower teams would shatter that belief. Japanese strategy hinged on turning each island into a giant fortress. Their commanders understood they couldn't match U.S. industry, so they relied instead on terrain, engineering, and determination. Many caves were built with multiple firing ports, reinforced chambers, and twisting tunnels meant to trap and frustrate attackers. Inside, soldiers had weeks of supplies. They expected to fight until the last man, confident that it would take Americans days, or even weeks, to clear a single cave system. What they didn't count on was a weapon that made the earth itself burn. When the M2 flamethrower arrived in the Pacific, everything changed. This fearsome weapon could shoot a stream of burning fuel nearly 40 meters, lighting up everything it touched. It wasn't just the fire that killed. It was the heat, the suffocating smoke, and the explosion of oxygen being consumed inside the cavity of a cave. Even heavily fortified tunnels couldn't protect those inside. U.S. forces suddenly had a tool that bypassed steel doors, trenches, barricades, and clever engineering. It didn't matter how deep a Japanese bunker was, flame would still reach it. But wielding a flamethrower wasn't easy. Operators carried heavy fuel tanks, thick hoses, and a projector that made them stand out on the battlefield. Snipers targeted them first, knowing a single hit could ignite the tanks. Yet these men moved forward anyway, often crawling under machine gun fire to reach the cave entrance. Behind them, riflemen and machine gun teams provided cover. Engineers confirmed the structure of the cave, while grenadiers blocked escape routes. Flamethrower operators were the tip of the spear, the ones who stepped into the most dangerous part of the battlefield. The first major shock for Japanese defenders came on Saipan in June 1944. Their cave fortresses were supposed to delay the Marines for extended periods. But when flamethrower teams reached the front lines, many caves that were expected to hold out for days collapsed within minutes. Japanese soldiers who survived initial flame burst reported chaos, darkness, blinding heat, and smoke-filled tunnels that made it impossible to breathe. Their defensive plans, which had taken weeks to prepare, crumbled in moments. The Americans had found the perfect weapon for the terrain. If Saipan was the warning, Iwo Jima was the full demonstration of U.S. firepower. The island was a volcano filled with tunnels, pillboxes, and interlocking caves. Japanese commanders believed the Americans would spend months trying to dig them out. But the Marines arrived with flamethrowers, satchel charges, and tanks equipped with long-range flame projectors. Battles for individual caves became shockingly short. A cave system that planners believed would hold out for a week was cleared in just 26 minutes. Japanese troops were stunned. Their strongest defenses were falling far faster than they ever expected. The physical destruction was devastating, but the psychological impact was even greater. Japanese troops were trained to fight fearlessly, but fire was a weapon unlike anything else. In enclosed tunnels, the fear of suffocation and burning spread instantly. The distinctive hiss of a flamethrower being ignited sometimes caused entire groups to abandon their positions. Marines noted that defenders who ignored grenades, mortars, and machine gun fire reacted very differently when they heard or saw flame. No matter how determined or fanatical the resistance, fire broke their resolve. Okinawa featured the most complex cave systems of the entire war. Some of them were practically underground towns, complete with hospitals, ammo depots, and command centers. U.S. commanders expected brutal, drawn-out tunnel fighting. But by 1945, the Americans had perfected their cave-clearing tactics. Tanks blasted entrances, infantry sealed exits, engineers mapped structures, and flamethrower teams advanced with precision. Even the most elaborate tunnels fell faster than Japanese leaders had prepared for. What they expected to be a months-long defense collapsed in a matter of weeks, largely because flame bypassed their strongest fortifications. The shock came not only from the weapon itself, but from how quickly the Americans adapted. Japanese troops had trained for rifle fights, grenade assaults, and hand-to-hand combat in tunnels. They were ready for those. What they never anticipated was a weapon that could fill an entire chamber with fire in seconds. Their defensive doctrine simply had no answer for flamethrowers. It was the one variable they had not prepared for, and it changed everything. In the end, U.S. flamethrower teams played a decisive role in breaking Japan's underground defenses. They turned supposedly impregnable cave networks into death traps and forced Japanese commanders to confront a reality they had never planned for. The Pacific War was filled with brutal innovations, but few had a more immediate impact than the flamethrower. Caves designed to hold out for days fell in minutes. The Americans weren't just attacking, they were bringing fire into the earth itself. And Japan, confident in their underground strongholds, never expected how fast it would all collapse. Thanks for watching.